Hey everyone, my name is Rooster, and welcome back to Mechabellum. In today's video, I'll be playing Assault Mode Marksman for the first time in a long time, and it'll be up against Shade-Off. And I kind of wanted to try and show you guys how you can play Assault Mode Marksman, and what the things are that you kind of need to think about when playing them. Like, what are the traps, what are the potentially problematic counters, and how do you go about navigating that? Now, I'm up against Shade-Off, who goes for a Speed Specialist with Void Eyes and Sledgehammers, and I was looking to get an aggressive pack myself because there was a mid-wall, and mid-walls tend to favor aggressive gameplay. I go for the Saber pack. There was also a nice Spider pack with the Rhino Specialist, but I decided to pick this one, which also has a nice pairing of units, right? You have Sabers and Hounds, which go well together, and I decided to push on the right side of the board there. Now, Shade-Off also will be pushing with the Sledgehammers and Void Eyes. It makes sense because he's a Speed Specialist. Generally speaking, I feel like when you're a Speed Spec, you want to play a bit aggressive, and in crossfires, you kind of hope to be on the opposite side, or rather, you hope that there is a crossfire because you're able to move around the map quicker, which tends to be somewhat favorable. Now, I go for double Hounds on the right side. I feel like I don't need a third one. It would get pulled into the wall either way, and I use my third Hound to kind of try and stall on the left side if there happens to be units over there, and there are units over there. It's going to be hard to judge how this ends up. I think I'm not favored here on round one, as Sledgehammers and Void Eyes are both kind of tedious to kill for Sabers, and Void Eyes are plenty to fight back against Sabers, and they are definitely capable of killing them. Now, we kill one pack of Crawlers on the left before our Hounds die, so honestly, that's not a bad trade-off. And we get a tower debuff first, and we are able to kill the chaff clearing turrets, so we should be able to grab that second debuff as well, whilst still keeping all of our crawlers. Same thing will happen on our side of the board though. As we lose our first tower, crawlers move over, and we should get debuffed here as well. But because of the Speed Specialist, he actually gets the debuff first, the second one, even though we got the very first tower this game. Whether it matters, we'll have to see. We get a nice debuff timing for sure, and I do have some crawlers here hopping over, but I still have a lot of units to get through, and I'm not sure if we're able to do it. Looks like we will. The crawlers are very helpful, and we actually managed to get out ahead. That is surprising. I think I got away with murder there. Round number 2. Mobile Beacon available. I do like picking it when there's nothing else from the cards that I want, just because in these type of scenarios, you will often want a mobile beacon at some point, and the card is cheaper than the mobile beacon from the tower. So, yeah, it's just like, it makes sense to pick it up, because if you wanted a mobile beacon down the line, you would have at least, given yourself a little bit more resources. Now, I do get my Marksman as well on this round, so I don't have to worry too much about anti-air, because it's already covered. What I do have to think about is where do I want to put it. Now, I could either try and mount a defense on the left side with the help of this additional unit. On the other hand, it is also a loot pinata. It's worth a lot of experience, and I don't think I actually can mount a sufficient defense to prevent this Marksman from dying. So while I do initially put it over here, I change my mind and I then put it with the rest of the board, because I feel like I can't defend this, and it's going to just level the Sledgehammers, the Void Eyes. I don't want that, and so I'm going to be putting it on the right side. I do add a Crawler here to help out my Hounds a little bit and stall this push, and I also pick up a Wasp because I feel like it's just a sensible thing to do in the early game, honestly. If you're not up against, a board that has like 3 Fangs, or a board that started with Mustangs, Wasps are very annoying to deal with. They kind of force out some very set responses, right? Like your opponent has to buy a Mustang, or get a Farseer, or get a whole bunch of Fangs, and it just limits the options your opponent has if they don't want to just lose by default. So it's a nice thing to pick up. It also defends the flank adequately. We get the first debuff, and we should be able to win this because we killed all of his anti-air. Shade-Off did add 1 Fang, but it died too quickly. And so I'm pretty happy here about the way that it's gone. Obviously, I should be winning the second round because I am a Marksman spec, so this is my power spike turn. But still, it's a nice round. It looks like we might even be able to keep everything alive. A Sabertooth levels, which on round 2 is honestly like pretty luxurious, so I'm quite happy with that. And I'll likely want to pick up that level because it'll make it all the much easier to keep threatening that tower and take it down if he decides to level. Now, on round number 3, we get Orbital Bombardment, which I could go for, but I kind of liked Efficient Tech Research as well. There was other things I needed to do, like leveling the sabers, grabbing maybe more chaff. And here I was also starting to think about potentially going into Assault Mode Marksman, because I'm up against Sledgehammers and Void Eyes. Now, I don't do it this round because I kind of wanted to see what was going on, and I needed to also make sure I had my chaff clear. So I go for the Efficient Tech Research. I don't go for the Orbital. That way I can still afford range on my hounds this turn, and I can still buy 2 deployments. Of course, we're going to buy 1 more hound, which is kind of going to be staircased around that left side tower. I do want to mount a defense over there eventually. And I'm probably just going to buy something like a Fang or a Crawler here in the back. Opponent goes for his own Wasps. He also went for Efficient Tech Research, and he goes for Energy Absorption, which is a tech that not many people have ran in the past couple patches. But it got a buff. Now it gives 60% bonus hit points instead of 40. So, you know, it might be worth running again if you don't want to be playing carry Void Eyes with Aerial. And, well, let's see how this plays out. Now, the fact that I do see a tech commit on the Void Eyes makes me want to go for Marksman even more, or Assault Marksman, because it just gives me a good reason to go for that. And I didn't really want to go into Mustang here, because I felt like it just wasn't that logical into this board. I'm facing Crawlers, Sledgehammers, Void Eyes. Mustangs are not the best into those. It just takes a long time to get through everything. So I'd rather get a unit that can kind of deal with Wasps, but still help out with the main fight as well. And I feel like Assault Mode was a good kind of compromise there. It's not the best at clearing Wasp. It's gonna, you know, be relatively slow, but it's tanky enough to perhaps stall the fight and eventually get through everything while still being very efficient against the other mid-sized units as well. Now, round number 4, we were still due a unit reinforcement round, so here it is. Tarantulas, Arclight, Stormcaller, Melting Point. Melting Point makes no sense into mid-sized units. Stormcaller could be picked, but again, into speed spec and in a low-range scenario, not ideal. And I already forgot what the other option was, but I don't think it's something that we wanted. And so I go for the Tarantula here because it sells for the most. I actually already did not want to keep this, by the way. I am just going to run it for this round because on the given round, a level 3 Tarantula is quite powerful. It's going to be able to do very well against level 1 Sledgehammers, and it's just going to help out my Marksman because this is where I click Assault Mode. And the rest of my round is going to be elite recruiting Assault Mode Marksman because I do want that extra level, the extra tankiness, and, well, sufficient DPS to counter whatever my opponent's doing. But I am planning to sell out of the Tarantula because otherwise I am making myself too vulnerable to hackers. When you're playing Assault Mode Marksman, hacker is a pain to deal with, especially when they go EMP. You get hacked in an instant, and then you have to deal with your own tanky Marksman. So keeping your hackable targets to a minimum is a good thing to do. So already here, there's some pre-planning going on. I have range hound. I don't need to go into Tarantula. My chaff clear should be just fine if I use my hounds. And hounds are not great hacking targets. So we keep it for one turn, but we're already planning to sell it. Crawler here on the flank. Luckily, I do have a beacon, which is moving forward. And you can see me sell out of the sabers as well. So I'm really already planning to sell a bunch of units that would be hackable. Sabers also not amazing into hacker. Right side is stalling very nicely. The debuff is perfect, by the way, as the Tarantula is able to fight back during the debuff for much longer than it otherwise would have. We get the second debuff as well, and the Marksmen now are moving over. Now, I do think I will lose my tower. He ranged his Tarantulas, bought 2 more, so it's quite obvious that he wants to keep going into that direction. But, I mean, Marksman with Assault Mode and range should be plenty in terms of DPS. Keep in mind that Assault Mode does give a bonus 50% attack, I believe, which is quite a lot, and something that is very welcome on Marksman, because they sometimes can miss having enough DPS. Now, On round number 5, we get additional deployment slot. Fantastic. I'm probably going to be playing a lot of small units, hounds, marksmen, crawlers. So having the additional deployment there is great. And I already go for the range enhancement on my marksman because I have a lot of cash available, right? We were planning to sell things, and we do sell things. Make sure that we sell out of that tarantula. We replace it with a level 2 hound. I buy a level 2 saber-tooth as well here to try and contest that tarantula. And I buy a couple more marksmen. We are moving in here. I don't want this to get pulled. I leave a couple of hounds to deal with the crawler pack and help out my wasps. But I do want to threaten the tower because at level 2, it's still very much worth taking. And, well, level 2 saber-tooth and a level 3 marksman should be able to get rid of that pretty easily. Now, I did kind of expect a crawler to be added here because there's no way that you're leaving a tarantula just out here without any help. So he's beaconing it backwards. I maybe should have missiled, but I didn't have the money for it. And sadly, he does go hacker, which was somewhat expected, but he adds it on the line. So it instantly hacks my saber-tooth. Thankfully, we are able to get rid of it pretty fast, and there isn't too much of an issue, but other things are getting taken over already. Now, the good thing for me is that Shadoff doesn't run EMP on his hackers. So even though the hacking is still going to be quite useful for him, he's not going to be able to instantly overtake my marksman. And aside from that, I think we've done a good job of kind of modeling our comp in such a way that we should be able to fight back against this. My marksman, though, doing well to clear my own wasps. And it looks like I may end up losing here. I definitely will, because the level 3 tarantula is still alive. The saber gets taken over, and I'm going to be taking a bunch of damage, putting me down to below 3k in this mid-game. Round number 6, Ion Blast shows up. I instantly pick it. Such a good spell. Very, very cheap, and has so much impact. And, well, when the board looks like that, it's hard to say no. I wasn't convinced that my opponent would go for it because my board is a lot more spread out than his. So it's going to be a bit more difficult for him to get good value out of the Ion Blast. I do go for some shields though because 1, it's useful against the Ion Blast if he does pick it. And 2, it's good against the hackers. And his DPS is kind of low right now, which tends to be one of the problems that hacker comps often have when they go into hacker this early. Either their chaff clear is insufficient and you can spam a bunch of crawlers. Either they don't have anti-air, so you can go for things like Raiden, or they just don't have DPS. And you can buy things with barriers. Because hackers, again, are very weak against barrier because anytime they need to deal damage, they deal 1/3 of their attack value. So they're very, very bad at actually killing things that can't be hacked. Now, he goes for the Ion Blast as well. I wasn't sure because I have a good portion of my army over here. We go for the beacon. Again, a Tarantula here gets added. Barrier gets picked up as a second tech on the hackers with levels. But that's very expensive. So it means that he can't really add a lot of defenses on the right side. And I still have a bunch of pressure over there. He does beacon backwards one of his hackers. So I'm not convinced this Ion Beam will do that much. But we'll have to see. I had a crawler on the flank because I didn't want this saber-tooth to get instantly hacked. Looks like we will be able to perhaps get away with that. As the saber-tooth breaks the shield and is even locked on to the enemy hacker. I took temp range and I actually think that made a difference there. I'm not quite convinced that the saber-tooth would have been able to see that hacker if not for that bonus 15 range. So yeah, you can see the value of picking up those temporary buttons if you have the money for it. And we're going to be winning this round, so happy about that. Now, I did lose 2 barriers, and, you know, he went for the tech, so he's going to have those available every single round. So economically speaking, that is a bit of a boon for my opponent. But it's a nice victory, and now we put our opponent down to 2k hit points. Round number 7, Stormcaller, Mustang, Arclight, and Scorpion show up. And, well, I mean, I was thinking about Stormcaller to try and break the shield, but honestly, I have very high-level marksmen. They should be able to break the shields anyway, and Mustang is just such a nice pairing, right? It's a good counter against Hacker. It's not a very hackable target, but it can fight back. It helps out with Chaff, and it's bonus anti-air as well against the Wasps, so it just made a lot of sense to pick it. The only downside, perhaps, is that when you have to pick a Mustang pack, you often will have to range them immediately, which does cost some money, but hey, we had efficient tech research, so grabbing another tech is not the worst. And it just does look like a very good addition to my board. Level 4 tower on the right side now. So a big difference there. Loan is coming out. Temp range, temp speed for me. I probably should start loaning here as well. But we'll see if I actually do, or if I felt confident enough that I could go for another round without. You kind of just look at, you know, do I have enough money to make the plays that I want to play? If yes, then there's no need to loan. If no, then it might be a good thing to pick it up starting round 7. I pick up another Mustang here. And I go for a crawler as well. And I've already used everything. I think I just picked up a bunch more chaff across the board. And I'm going to be loaning because I'm going to pick up Mechanical Rage. Another option here would have been to maybe go for something like Attack Enhancement or Defense Enhancement. And try and play for something like Subterranean Blitz on the crawlers. But Mechanical Rage, very nice as well. Faster chaff clear means that my marksmen are going to be able to shoot on targets quicker. And it also means that the hackers will have less time to work with to try and actually take over my marksman. You can see here, marksman is getting taken over, but we get a debuff. And again, there's no EMP available for my opponent, so he's not hacking my assault marksman that fast. And we almost win on round 7. Now, round 8 rolls around, and we get a bunch of cards that aren't that meaningful. Advanced Power System, probably worth picking just for the additional speed. Again, works really well with things like crawlers when the opponent's chaff clear isn't ideal. He does have quite a few tarantulas, I will say, so his chaff clear is alright. But there's definitely something to be done there. Level 1 tarantulas into, you know, double defense enhancement plus Subterranean Blitz should still struggle a little bit. Rhino Assault, maybe something I have to be a little bit careful of. I'm not sure if there is a way to get a debuff. And Quick TP, I could go for some things, but I think speed is just the most logical thing here. Shade Off picks it up as well. And here I'm thinking, well, my opponent's anti-air is very weak. And again, this is something I mentioned earlier, right? When you're up against hackers, often there is something lacking, right? Either the chaff clear, the barrier, DPS, the anti-air, and in this case, it is the anti-air, specifically dealing with air tanks. So that's why I go for double Blue Wraith with armor, which should be able to block all of the damage from the Mustang. It's also going to help out with chaff clear, with the wasps, so it's quite useful regardless. But even if I somehow lose the ground, I should be able to win just by air. Now, the one caveat is if my marksmen get hacked and they all survive and they then kill my Wraith. But I didn't really have a reason to believe that that would happen. Shade Off here goes for a level 2 Scorpions with field maintenance. Trying to just kind of test my DPS, but it's quite good. Level 3 Assault Marksman, again, plus 50% attack. It's pretty scary. Like, I'm not, you know, playing regular marksman here. These guys are quite beefy and they can fight back. I mean, look at the chunks of damage that they're dealing. One Scorpion already down, right side tower under fire. I did sell that Sabertooth over there as it wasn't really doing too much, and it was a level 4 tower, so, you know, it's not really worth pushing into anymore. But it looks like the left side's doing just fine. The Mustangs that we went for are doing great. And we're going to be able to close this out in 8 rounds against, the hacker board. A fun one. It's been a while since I played this. It's been a while since I ran Assault mode on my Marksman. I was running EMP for a very long time, but I put it back because I wanted to have some fun and try out this tech in certain scenarios. And here I had good reason to, right? We were up against double mid-sized units, Void Eyes with a tech and sledgehammers and some wasps as well. I was a marksman spec, so going into it felt like the right move. And we had a decent backup board, right, to help out my marksman. I already had range on the hounds. I had crawlers, so as long as I was wary of the hacker potential, selling out of things like, you know, unnecessary sabers, not keeping the tarantula around, and just adding units that are good against hacker. So crawlers, more hounds, relying on those, getting the Mustangs from the pack, ranging the marksman early. We should be quite fine. We also had very good tower pressure here for a while. I think Shadoff likely should have responded to that a bit quicker. Not having EMP kind of hurts, but I'm not sure if it would have made that big of a difference because he still wants to get barrier, so it would have needed to be like a third tech. Either he wouldn't have had barrier or he wouldn't have had EMP or only very late. And at this point, it doesn't matter that much anymore. But yeah, I mean, that was an interesting one. I hope you liked it. If you did, please leave a thumbs up. Let me know down below in the comments what you think of Assault Mode Marksman. Is it a tech you like? Have you played it a lot? Have you faced it a lot recently? Let me know. If you want to stay up to date on my latest content, please consider subscribing. And if you want to see me play live, check me out on Twitch. With that being said, take care, guys, and see you in the next video. Bye-bye.